We have made significantly huge progress in our approach or pursuit for Dan Ashworth as the director of football at Manchester United. We've got some team news ahead of an important game as we do continue to build on our good run of games, especially in the English Premier League. Well, let's talk Man United today. My name is Webb. So much news to talk about today, and all of it is summed up here in this live. Welcome to our night show. It's a daily one that happens at exactly the same time. I'm about just about 4 minutes late. Well, it's not my habit, but it was all for the right reasons. I was just reading up on something, trying to get ready for you so that we get a proper direction of matters. Manchester United. We'll talk about Scott McTominay. We'll talk about Harry Maguire. A bit of an update on Luke Shaw, but the bigger one is expected tomorrow. But we'll talk about something concerning Luke Shaw and everything to do with our beloved club, because guess what? The FA, the Football Association, the body that runs the beautiful game in the UK, has officially approved Sir Jim Ratcliffe's takeover of the 25% stake in Manchester United. Guys, it's done. It's time to work now. We mean business now. The confirmations and announcements by the club will be made maybe next week. That's what we are hoping. But for now, what we know, the top of the agenda for Manchester United is signing a director of football or sporting director in Dan Ashworth, who is extremely excited and open to the idea of joining Manchester United. We'll talk about some of the key players he has been involved in the past clubs he worked at. We'll talk about why I personally think Sir Jim and his team are so excited by the idea of getting Dan Ashworth. It is said that, by the way, the talks have gone on so well. He made it clear to Newcastle United. He's sort of a journeyman if you consider how he moved from Brighton in 2022. He joined Brighton in 2019, moved away in 2022. Now United is back. We wanted him in 2018. We are back again for him. This time, there is no way he's turning us down, guys. There is no way. That would be disrespect of the highest order. Well, we'll talk about Dan Ashworth and his abilities, because there is big progress concerning his move away from Newcastle United. Newcastle have swallowed humble pie and they are saying, we cannot keep you against your will, even if they would have wanted to keep him, as they do try to start something new for themselves. But United are the boss and the new bullies in town, or the awakened bullies in town when it comes to football in the English Premier League. Well, some team news for you, of course. As Eric Ten Hag prepares, tomorrow we expect something in terms of a press conference before our game against Luton, an interview. If I would say, we expect an interview tomorrow from Eric Ten Hag. We'll listen to his exact update on Luke Shaw, at least for today. What we know, not a major update, not a single major update concerning Luke Shaw. There was some early team news they gave us, but nothing really concrete that was said. We are all expecting it for tomorrow after the training. So let's focus on what is in the building now for Manchester United. Now, guys, Dan Ashworth is almost edging close to a move to Manchester United. And just to give you a brief history of Dan Ashworth and why Manchester United is so interested in him, it's not because I personally don't think we are interested in him because he has been involved in the greatest signings. The biggest players he has signed are Moses Caicedo at Brighton and my son's favorite player, that is Alexander Isak at Newcastle. The other big names we want to talk over, Kukurea, the Chelsea guy, but he has not really signed the greatest players. But what he's known for, and this is the job of football, is setting up a structure, clubs to shine and operating. If I'm to give you a brief history of Dan Ashworth, he was a footballer himself, played as a defender, never played for any top side, not even in the championship. His football was so little that in 2000, when he retired, he chose to go into other things. That's management and strategy. He's also been a coach before, but he first went and was an academy director at Cambridge United. Then he moved on to direct the Center of Excellence at West Bromwich Albion. By the way, West Bromwich has one of the most successful centers of excellence in English football. So he was a director before. Then he became assistant manager of the under-21s. Then became of their youth team. Then he later became their manager. Then he moved on from there, went into the FA. And the FA in 2012, he was hired as the head of elite football development. Now that's a huge thing. The head of elite football development in the FA. The job then was, because remember, after the so many failures of the great English sides that had the Paul Scholes, those big players they had back then, and them failing and always becoming perennial underachievers, they needed a new strategy that would see them perform better, achieve better than all those, than the team than those great, some of their greatest generations, did. So his job was to come up with a strategy that was going to ensure that the young players then, because always if you're going to build a football team, you want to rely on the youngsters. That's why Sir Jim and his team at United are relying on the youngsters. So this guy, as the FA's head of elite football development, in 2012, comes up with a strategy. In 2013, the new coach, by then the new coach of the under 21s, that's Gareth Southgate, who was the coach of these young boys at the under 21. Most of the young boys we eventually saw, who are now coming of age, the Marcus Rashfords and the like. So he was their coach. So they worked together, and in 2014 they come up with a proper strategy. These guys came up with what they called the England DNA. Now, the England DNA was something very interesting. If I'm to show it to you, and if you do want to see it for yourselves, you can go on the on the FA website. It's there. You can see it. It's open knowledge, and you see how smart this guy is. And what he did with that England DNA is the exact thing that Manchester United went for him for. It was not because of him and how he discovers Moises Caicedo and this Alexander Isak. No, that was not the reason Manchester United went for this guy. It is because of the work he did with the England FA, because the England DNA was important. The thing is, England was before not known for any particular brand of football that they would really proudly identify with. Even if they had the most successful league in the world, England has always come fifth or even sixth when it comes to the best footballing nations in the world. So they were only known for their spirit, like England, and passion for football, and the spirit they have always had, that they would always fight and come with that motivation. But that is never enough. That was never enough to convince anyone that this England team is one of the best. So what they did, what Dan Ashworth, and then later on working with Gareth Southgate, and part of their presentation in the England of the England DNA is what convinced the FA to give Gareth Southgate the job as the head coach of the senior team. So this is exactly what happened. So they put together what they called the England DNA, and this had entailed having a strategy, a proper strategy to ensure that in a few years England would perform so good at the topmost level, win titles, and what all you saw them finishing in the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2018, then moving on later, 2 years later in 2020, and finishing the final of the Euros. They were almost winning it. The first final since, I think, in 55 years. It was all because of the strategy of Dean Ashworth, later on working with Gareth Southgate. And that's why England has got a lot of trust in Gareth Southgate. I've had people sort of thinking and believing that England can sack Gareth Southgate anytime soon. It's very difficult to even imagine that they would. They can't, because this man just showed them what he can do with his strategy working with Dan Ashworth. So what these guys did, they came up with this proper DNA, and that's exactly why Manchester United has been wanting him from 2018. Imagine, even before Sir Jim Ratcliffe. We went for him in 2018, and we failed. He went to Brighton and Hove Albion before then moving on to Newcastle United too, and now we are back for him. So let's look at the work he did in 2022 with England. And I'm telling you, it's this work that resulted in them finishing the World Cup semi-finals and the Euros, but also playing a different brand of football that we see. And this is the importance of a director of football. People think that good football is coached by just the manager. No, the manager just has to fit into what the club wants to play. So this is the proper template of the job of this guy and what he's supposed to do. So here is now this was his his mastermind, his masterpiece for English football. He came up with the DNA connections. Remember, we need a Man United DNA. We've always spoken about how we don't have an identity. We don't have a DNA. The players we have do not have the Man United DNA because it's not there. No one has it in place. So here is exactly what this DNA is all about. Now, this was the England DNA. So you have England at the heart. Now replace England with Manchester. A performance, support, and philosophy, playing philosophy, talent ID philosophy, coaching and learning philosophy. Have that in place. Now, those are the connotations. So, of course, its purpose to define the identity for the future. For United, isn't that what we need? That's the job of the director of football. Define the identity for the future. Like we said, ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, we've never had an identity. No one defined it for the boss. That's why we say the directors of football after Sir Alex Ferguson was there, left, were incompetent. They did not know what they were doing because they didn't have anything like this. There was no plan for any manager to come. That's why managers came and they were playing their own football and signing players they have worked with all fellow countrymen because they had no direction. Yet that's why it's called a director of football, a sporting director. So the purpose of their job is define the England identity, as you see it right there. He defined the England playing identity, then share what we do and why we do it. So after defining the identity for the future, what do we do and why do we do it? Increase contacts, of course. We don't expect, the Richard Arnolds and John Matters of this world to have had enough contacts in football. Share the journey, part of something special. Define clear development plans for players. United has never had a clear development plan for players. Imagine if we stayed as we were, even the good players we have now, like Kobe Maino, would never have a proper development plan, and maybe they would get lost along the way. Serious teams have these things well planned for and streamlined out from the directors of football's strategy. Consistency across teams and golden thread. This was his work. Then, of course, he defined the process, the importance of consultation, internal and externally, evolving and developing and winning, consistent core elements and stuff like that. This might sound so technical for you, but I just want you to understand, because the job of a director of football, some people call him a technical director, sporting director, or director of football, is all almost one and the same. It is extremely technical, and that's why we are talking technical in this particular segment of the show today, guys. If you don't have your porridge with me like I have mine, this is not for you, but you need it, guys. We need it. We need to watch football with understanding. We need to understand what is Dan Ashworth going to do. Why are we breaking the bank to get this guy from Newcastle? Why have we insisted that he's among the first guys we want to sign? This is why this guy changed England football, that England now goes into a tournament and they are looked at as favorites to win it. When is the last time you thought so? So, and this was both for men and women football. Remember, the England national team also won. I think, did they win the final? Recently, when they played in the Euros, either they won at Wembley or I think were they beaten by Germany? I think they won the final, if my memory is serving me right. I was actually in the UK that time. I don't know how I'm forgetting. I was in Birmingham when that final was taking place at Wembley. But I think they won. So the England DNA core elements, then he defined the core elements. Now replace England with Manchester United DNA. He will define for us the core elements of our DNA as a Manchester United player. Who are we? How do we play? That's the identity. The future Manchester United player. How is a Manchester United player supposed to look? How do we coach our players? How do we support our players? Those are key things that have been missing in Manchester United. Guys, I want you to appreciate and understand what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is doing and why he knows exactly what he's doing. So this is this is the director of football, and this is their job. England DNA core elements, of course, those are the ones. Then recognizing the past, using the DNA to inform about the present, then with a clear focus on the future, of creating new history. Exactly where Manchester United is, guys. I feel like this guy like Ineos went for this guy because he already has the template that we are looking for. He already has the template that we are looking for. That's for me why we are going for him, because already whatever I'm showing you now, exactly what we need at Manchester United. Exactly what we need at Manchester United. And this guy, man, they've got the passion for football, but they did not have an identity. We are always dissing England, even when they had some of the most talented players in the world, the Paul Scholes of this world, but because they didn't have an identity, playing identity. So what this guy did is they made a study of the 9 best footballing nations in the world. That includes Brazil, France, Germany. If you listen to all the countries I'm naming, each country has Spain, they all have an identity. They all have their different identity. German football is a bit, I think, meticulous. Their time, they keep time. It defines who they are. They are very, tactical. You talk about the South Americans, the Brazils, and that they've got this tenacity to, about them, and of course the skill and flair, which you think England has got a bit of skill and talent lately. You talk about the French; they are good on their transitions, and they've got some bit of patience. They know when to accelerate and when not to. You talk about, Spain with their tiki-taka. So what Dan Ashworth did was to find a cosmopolitan approach to integrate all these different styles and form one style of England. And by the way, if you look at the way Gareth Southgate's England plays, it's a concoction of all. You think about the England that reached the semi-final of the World Cup, the England that reached the final of the Euros. They are a concoction of all these different identities, and you love to see it. And it looks like it suits this generation of their players. That's exactly why we need this guy to come and give us that identity. This, for me, was his interview. Yeah? So he defined how we play, career playing, philosophy statements, in possession, how do we play? Now, these are the details. Richard Arnold and John Matter would never have known any of these things. And I hate to keep referring to them, but it's a fact. How do we play? In philosophy statement, England teams aim to intelligently dominate possession, selecting the right moments to progress the play and penetrate the opposition. This was his presentation, guys. This is not something I created. This was a presentation of Dan Ashworth when he was the FA Director of Elite Football Development. So going down to as much to detail like in possession, how do we play as Manchester United? Goes back and then he defines the model. So if we are in possession, how do we are we creating and scoring? How are we counter-attacking? How are we retaining and building? How are we progressing and penetrating? And all here, there's always a transition from one to the other. The fluid nature of the game means each aspect of possession is closely linked. Similarly, possession may be lost at any stage, prompting a transition to the defensive philosophy. Importantly, the goalkeeper is included in all aspects of playing philosophy, both in and out of possession. England goalkeepers are viewed as part of the team and not as part of the outfield, and not apart from the outfield players. And if you listen to this, this is why he's the right guy for Erik ten Hag, because this is Erik ten Hag's exact philosophy in football, guys. So I hope I'm not boring you with my whole sail deep football talk, but we're talking about the biggest talk of Manchester United is a director of football, and that's why I'm showing you this guy. Isaac, hi, we're watching you in Uganda. How are you, brother? How is it going? And which part of Uganda are you in? Niche Dictionary, Greenwood back. Definitely, Greenwood should be back at Manchester United. There is no doubt about that. I agree with you. Let me even activate Greenwood back here on my background screen. Anolin Aliguma, hello, web, good stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you're enjoying, because today's talk is a bit serious. It's not just the usual news and updates that you hear. This is serious football talk because people watch football without proper understanding of the game. Barada, Ashworth, and Erik ten Hag will take us to the promised land. Exactly. And as I sum up this whole Dan Ashworth talk, I'm beginning to build you to how this guy is the right guy to work with. These are the people Erik ten Hag has been needing to work with for him to look like the good manager he is, because before he would sit and he has no one to support him. So this guy is even defining how do we play out of possession philosophy statement. And he's saying England teams aim to intelligently regain possession as early and as efficiently as possible, taking into consideration the state of the game, the environment, and predetermined game plan, both men and women. And if you watch both England national men and women, you see that they play almost the same thing. The template is the same as designed by Dan Ashworth. The Man United is doing everything to sign. Out of possession model, there should be a proper model. When we don't have the ball, how do we play? You look at United at some point, and we were all saying, you remember when he said we didn't have an identity? Pep Guardiola's most successful team, the Barcelona team, was, he said himself, the thing they did best, we might have enjoyed them with how they were passing and tic-tac and all. We've seen so many teams who can pass the ball like that. Even Shakhtar's Egypt, that dominated African football for, I think, 3 years. But out of possession, no manager has coached a team like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. There was a philosophy, and for him, that was his winning one. It's not even the tic-tac, it was the philosophy without the ball, how they moved without the ball, and that's the thing he spent the most time teaching Barcelona players, those Iniestas, the Javis, and the Messis. And you recall how they would pass the ball, have the ball, they would just make sure they retain it so fast because they had an out of possession philosophy. The fluid nature of the game means each aspect of our possession is closely linked. Similarly, possession may be won at any stage, prompting a transition to the attacking philosophy. Importantly, the goalkeeper is included in all aspects. So you see that they have an out of possession philosophy. How do we press, delay and deny, activate, emergency defending and goal protection? All these details. This is football, guys. Football is extremely scientific. Don't think it's about having. That's why we've had so many talented players, but they have failed for a decade. We've brought in some of the best talent in the world, but they have failed because this was not there. Richard Arnold did not put this in place. This was not there. That is why this guy is important. I needed this to show you transition philosophy. The manager, even if they made you the manager, Anolina Liguma, even if they made you the manager of United, if you have this template, you will fit into it and maintain the identity of the club. Arsenal has with their boss. Man City now has it with Pep Guardiola. He put it in place. Jurgen Klopp is leaving it at Liverpool. Any manager who will come in will fit into that template unless the club chooses to change it because it's not working. But if it's working, why fix it? This is exactly the thing. So England teams sense changing moments in the game, both in and out of possession, reacting instinctively and intelligently. Then the transition model, he broke it down in his strategy. Then the formation statement. England teams will play with tactical flexibility influenced by the profile of the players and the requirements of the match or competition. That is the formation, that before you decide the formation, which formation you're playing. So meaning, Erik ten Hag as the boss, if we play against Luton and you choose to play 4-3-3, it must be guided. The formation you use must be guided by that formation statement. That Manchester United teams will play with tactical flexibility. That's I'm showing this is if this is going to be. And by the way, I personally don't see so much differences in terms of England and Man United, because England before was playing that one route football that Manchester United used to play under Sir Alex Ferguson as well. We also used to play one route football. So that's why this guy is the perfect guy for the job, because what he did with England is exactly what we need at Manchester United. He also defined the England player, the England future player. Even if Dan Ashworth will leave, he will have left a defined Man United player. That the future England player or future Man United player must have these: a joint process, male and female, general to a specific internal and external. But he also defined the coaching and training strategy philosophy statement. We aim to create the best practice environment possible in all areas to prepare our players and teams for success. At United, Cristiano Ronaldo spoke about how we did not have the right environment for success because the technology was old. There was nothing improved at Carrington. Everything was done. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was dissing Man United about how we are petty. He goes into a hotel and his card they had to charge him for water, the water he drank in a hotel. He's saying that environment cannot create a winning environment for players. So all that go into that philosophy statement. How do we create an environment for a player to focus on the game and perform? Coaching and training strategy model. All England training sessions are meticulously planned for and delivered using the England DNA coaching fundamentals. So replace England again with Manchester United. So coaching and training strategy, you plan, you do, and you review. These things no one has been getting this accountability from so many managers we've had. That's exactly why we are bringing in this guy. Anoline Webb, shall we see the Ajax style of Ten Hag at United this time? I honestly don't think Pep's style is press after possession loss. Man City make sure they win the ball in less than 10 seconds. Exactly. And that's the thing. People think Pep Guardiola is the best manager because of how he teaches players how to pass the ball. No. Pep Guardiola, what makes him a special manager is what he teaches the players to do when they don't have the ball. His secret is what his teams do without the ball. You watch Man City. Anoline, I meet you one day. You seem to be. I love your knowledge of football. I love your knowledge of football. You look at football with a meticulous eye. Pep Guardiola teaches his teams what to do without the ball. He will not teach Messi what to do with the ball. He will not teach Kevin De Bruyne what to do with the ball. But the whole team, what they do without the ball, is what Pep Guardiola is tick for. You're asking, shall we see the Ajax style of play at Ten Hag at United? I know that the Ajax style of play was exciting, but I don't think, because the style of play is determined by the environment, by the league you're playing in. Your style of play is determined by the league you're playing in. I don't think the Ajax style of play can compete in the Premier League. He's still trying to do that now because he was playing with a single pivot, building from the back, which is okay. You can build from the back, but the way you do it in the Eredivisie, where you don't have high intensity teams you're facing, there is no high intensity in the opposition. It's not the same way you do it in the Premier League. You might keep the fundamentals the same, but you've got to adjust to suit the Premier League. But this man is there to help him. Dan Ashworth is there to help him have a balance. I think we will see a small change because I first of all think the single pivot will not work for Erik Ten Hag in the Premier League. Otherwise, we will get beat. Or his players are going to be worn out because that single pivot doesn't work in English football. They will punish you. You need two holding midfielders to balance it in the Premier League. It's high intensity. No single holding midfielder can contain the straight direct intensity of the Premier League. You can't one game, but over time, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, these teams will study you and they will figure out the spaces and get the right players to penetrate and exploit those spaces. So I don't think we will ever see Man U play exactly the way Erik Ten Hag and his Ajax did. And we don't have to, because the players are different, the football is different, the environment is different, the approach, the difference between the Premier League and the Dutch Eredivisie is day and night. So the approach cannot be the same. The Dutch Eredivisie, in terms of level, the Premier League is the most difficult league in the world. That one, even Ronaldo will tell you, he said it. Ronaldo is the guy who has played most, I think, if not all the major leagues in Europe. He will tell you the Premier League is difficult for its intensity. Why? Because these teams have the money to get the best players in the world. It's the league that is most watched in the world. So meaning the money is there and they study there. It is full of, the teams are extremely educated and meticulous. They pay attention to these details. They invest so much in keeping it up there. So you certainly do not expect the approach that worked at Ajax to just come and work in the Premier League. No. You've got to adjust and give it a proper balance. And that's exactly what Erik Ten Hag is expected to do. But I've given you an idea of the job of Dan Ashworth and why I personally think is the right guy for the job, and the results of that. We all can say honestly that even if England is yet to win a major title, you feel like every time they go into a tournament, you feel like maybe they are close. They have been progressing from Gareth Southgate when he took over. They have won all the junior competitions by now. Their women national team is winning since 2012 when this guy was the executive, the head of elite football development. So meaning his strategy worked. That's why he's the hottest director of football now in English football, because he did it with the national team, with the FA. He succeeded. His under junior teams of England have almost won everything there is to win. They play good football. England now has so much talent that if they didn't have this guy giving them direction, they would have missed out on a good generation of players. So they finished in the semi-finals of the World Cup, playing with players like Jesse Lingard, by the way, who are not exactly the best players, but because the template was there and Gareth Southgate had a proper understanding of this template, he had worked with most of these kids when they were younger, building this philosophy and putting it in them. then it becomes easy for any of the kids to fit into it. That's why Dele Alli was one of the best England players at the World Cup in 2018, and they reached the semi-final. Not Dele Alli, okay, and Jesse Lingard, and they reached the semi-final. Then 2 years later, they play very good football, and England reaches the final of the Euros. So it is because they created direction. So football, people think football is about talent. No, football is direction. If you have direction, you know how you want to play, how you want to win, how you dissect every moment of the game, because football has very many moments. Create the template for the players. Then, of course, let the players also integrate their instincts into. See, if you got a proper understanding of how they want you to play, your instincts will just boost. Because, of course, as a footballer, you have your own instincts. They can't take you on the pitch. The coach is not the one on the pitch. But the template guides the entire team, because football is not an individual sport. Because the template then makes every player, different people, 11 different players, have the same thing in their mind. You know that this is how we are supposed to win a game of football. Regardless what skills I have, we're all working towards doing it this way. That lacked at Manchester United. That's why we did not have an identity. So football is going to give us an identity that the manager should fit into. That even if we sacked Erik ten Hag today, the next manager who will come in will keep the same identity. Keep the same identity, because we believe in the director of football and the structure they have set up. So the director of football gives that direction. Then below him then is the manager. He works, of course, with the manager and the head of recruitment, who in this case we've been looking at Paul Mitchell, to now identify the players who suit into that, who fit into that direction, that philosophy. So how scout the perfect players who fit into that. That's why for England's national team, you saw that Gareth Southgate would leave out certain players who we thought, you are all saying this player is good, why isn't he called for England? Because maybe they don't fit into what that template by Dean Ashworth. Very important. So Paul Mitchell, his job will be now to understand that direction. Do they agree? The manager, okay. Then which players on the market? They sit in a room with, now you have above them a CEO who also understands Omar Berada, sit down in a boardroom and then discuss player per player on a slide, on a PowerPoint, on a big screen. So they say, Frankie de Jong, does it fit into what we want? Okay, what's the profile of the United midfielder? We need to be who will be able to play football like this. Does he have the abilities to press when we're out of possession? They watch videos of Frankie de Jong. Okay, he's a good passer. Oh, in passing, we need a quick passer. He is 7 out of 10. We need a fast run, a sprinter is 6 out of 10. We need someone who can, close gaps quickly. Is he trainable? Can he improve on that? Or is he up there? Okay, he's 4 out of 10. What's the average? It is maybe 6.5 out of 10. That can be our B option. Then we go to another. Joao Neves of Benfica. Can he fit into what we want? This is now a meeting that has Omar Berada, the CEO. It has the director of football, Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, and Erik ten Hag. You understand? That's how then you manage. Then they say, okay, we are going to sign this player. Well, do we need an older player? Do we need a young? How old? Should we look at a player of 20, early 20s or younger? Or we need some bit of experience for this role? We need this. Okay, look on the market. Who is there? There are these options. Okay, then they say, what's the best option? What's the cost? Is this feasible? Is he worth it? No. He has a lot to improve. We have to teach him this. So he's at 5 out of 10. So we don't pay anything more than £40 million for this player for them. That's how you manage a winning club. But what has been happening at United is Erik ten Hag or whichever manager or Ghana social name them, they will come, sit in their houses, spend the whole night thinking, how are we going to win? How can we play? This is how I dreamt to play. I loved this player. When I watch this player, I think he can come. Then they will come and tell Richard Addon and John Mata, go and get me this player. At whichever cost, me, I need that player. So they will go. Richard Arnold and John Mata will just go and sign because the manager said they wanted this player. That's how we've been wasting money, Glazers' money. But you don't work like that. You don't work like that. That's exactly why the first important thing that Sir Jim and his team needed to do is to build that team, competent team around Eric Ten Hag. Then Eric Ten Hag's job will be so easy because it will be a team effort. It will be so easy that for him, okay, they will all agree. If it doesn't work, they will come back and review. Like you saw there, they will review together and say, you know what, I think we missed out on here. Maybe this is why it's not working. This player we bought does not fit the description, the bill. We need to change this player. Or this entire approach does not work in the Premier League. Let's change it. But it's a team all agreeing. That's what Omar Berada did with Man City, with Tiki Bajarainstein, Pep Guardiola, and himself. So that's how you revamp Manchester United. Now, after doing all that, Omar Berada, who is at the top as the CEO, goes and reports to the board because he will sit on the board. He's the CEO, but he goes and sits on the board and reports to the board where Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be, where Jean-Claude Blow will be. That this is what we agreed. Manager with the director of football, with the head of recruitment, Paul Mitchell, who we've been talking about maybe as the favorite one. These are the things we agreed on. He explains it to them exactly the way they discussed it in their meetings, and we are saying this is the player we want to sign. The cost of we need to this player, this defender, this midfielder, the cost of these players will be £200 million. We want to sign them at latest the next summer. With this is the money we need. The result of this will be we will play like this. Then we'll look at it and advise and say, you know what, that's a lot of money, but also I don't like that. Okay, that's okay. Can you change this? Okay, it makes sense. Okay, go ahead. He will sign. Of course, in the same boardroom, the glazer, there will be a glazer. Most of them, they won't even understand what's going on. They have no clue about football. So, but that's how now, I'm just giving you an idea of how Man United is going to be managed going forward. That is proper management, strategic management, proper organized management. That's how you need to manage a football club. It's not about any one person. It's not about a one individual, Mr. Know-it-all. No. So Man United has made significant progress. I've just seen now a report that has just dropped suggesting that Dan Ashworth has communicated to Newcastle that he wants to leave. I think he has communicated. I just saw that update. Let me just read it for you here. I've just seen something from some sort. So before you even go into all these transfers and players we are linked with, you might want to relax because the reality is, so Man United and Newcastle are expected to reach an agreement over Dan Ashworth as well as next. How I wish, but you see, you never know. You never know. Dan Ashworth has informed Newcastle that he has been approached by Man U in relation to the sporting director position at Old Trafford. Formal contact is yet to take place between the clubs, although that is anticipated soon, and the 52-year-old is said to be open to the opportunity. That's according to David Ornstein. So Ashworth, things are happening fast. Guys, I told you Sir Jim and his team don't have time to waste. Things are moving fast. Are you excited? Let me ask guys, are you guys as excited as I am about this new dawn of Manchester United? Let me even take a sip. Are you as excited about this new dawn? Onyait Isaac, Nirish Dictionary, Anolina Liguma, Bisaso Arnold, hi Web, hi Bisaso, hi Arnold, how are you doing? I hope you're enjoying this whole serious football talk. Big up, bro. Prince Odion watching from Paris. Oh, Paris, Prince Odion, what's happening, brother? How is Paris? How is Paris? How is it? How is it going? Prince Odion. By the way, I'm told Paris will be so expensive in July during the Olympics. Prince Odion, could you be having somewhat Airbnb or for yourself? What you have the Olympics in Paris coming up in Paris. Just know the world is going to descend on Paris. And if God willing, if God wills is willing, I might also be there. God willing, I hope. But I'm told the hotels and everything is so expensive. I was trying to research about it. This is the reason we have people like you, Prince Odion. Make sure if I come, I don't run away because it's too expensive. Anyway, so guys, I hope you get the gist of the whole director of football thing and what their job is and why Dan Ashworth is the man we are looking at. And I hope you're excited about what's happening. So for me, I think Sir Jim is constituting an extremely strong team, and I believe we'll just be better as Manchester United. Now let's get into the team and the football. Of course, we have uh, that game against Luton coming up. We haven't been to Luton. We had an away game. We haven't been there in over 30 years. And yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting opportunity. Of course, Man United tried to give some team news, but there was no news in the news. I think all news will be for tomorrow. Of course, concerning Luke Shaw, his injury, I think Luke Shaw won't be there for the Luton game. It's yet to be confirmed, but when I talk to people at Carrington, they seem to point to that. Of course, they are told not to confirm things. They will just tell you without telling you. But my people at Carrington made it clear that it doesn't seem okay. He came yesterday and he spent the whole time in the doctor's room, and shortly after he left. We may not see him. What then does that mean? Does Amrabat go on the left? Do we still play Victor Lindelof there? Is Diogo Dalot going to be inverted and Maguire plays on the right, then Dalot plays with Varane in the central defense? There are quite a number of options. I wonder which ones make sense. For me, I think what would make the most sense for me from what I've seen is Amrabat. If Luke Shaw is not there, Amrabat should be starting. But then there's also this boy Kambwala. Of course, if you play one of the central defenders, or if you play Dalot, for example, on the left, then meaning, of course, you're going to lose something on the right because Van Bissaka is also not there. Then you push Maguire on the right. Then you play Varane and Kambwala in the central defense. That's another option that Erik ten Hag can choose to take. So there we might have the players, but you realize there's no balance because both of our left-footed players might not be there for the Luton game. Regardless, though, I think Luton should be an opponent we should be able to beat, even if I'm the one playing left back. Even if I'm the one in left back position, should be the one winning. Webb, can you talk about Dave Braille's philosophy of marginal gains? Oh, you're taking me back to marginal gains. I have a long video about marginal gains and Dave philosophy. Just to simply put it for you, what marginal gains means in management. Marginal gains means you make changes that cause little but so many improvements on something. For example, if I want to improve Manchester United, it takes patience, by the way, but also it takes a lot of honesty and appreciating where you are. So marginal gains, and this is what started a small improvement, but it will cause an improvement that if you add it to another small improvement and you put them together, they will make a significant improvement on the team. So you change, let's say that you improve the gym by 1%, improve the Carrington training ground, the grass by 1%, improve the what else? Old Trafford by 1%, improve the feeding by 1%. So if you add those 1% together, so make like 31% improvements on different things at the club, but you add those 1% together, they will make a 30. Instead of making one holistic improvement, make small little improvement on very many different important things, and when you add them together, they will make a significant improvement on the whole outlook, on the whole product. That's the way Sir Dave Brailsford wants to manage. That's his philosophy of management, the marginal gains approach. I dropped a video. Let me look for that link. I'll share it here for you, Anoline, for you to just listen, because I had a whole video, 10-minute video strictly about marginal gains and trying to explain what it means for those of you who want to understand it. Some of these things, by the way, I don't know, and people don't understand why we love football. I hope you guys don't just watch football just to enjoy goals. Football can give you a proper template to manage your company. If you're a manager of an organization, football can give you a proper template to manage your life, your business, your home. Football is like, that's why they say music is the soundtrack to life. I think football is the heartbeat. if music is the soundtrack, I think sport, okay, let me just generalize it and say sport is the heartbeat, because sport teaches you patience, sport teaches you resilience, it teaches you discipline, teaches you hard work, it teaches you effort, it teaches you, a strategy. That's exactly what sport does. So all the things you see, the story of United and the transition, you follow and watch how Sir Jim is going to transform Man United. And if it works, you just put that template into your business, and trust me, you might be the richest man in Uganda. Because, I mean, one of the richest men in the world, the richest man in the UK, is showing us how to manage a successful entity. You always welcome to my place. Just let me know if you are serious about it. You don't need a hotel when your brother is right here. My place will be fine for you. That's why we are united, one love. Oh, that's interesting. What an interesting offer, Prince. That's an interesting one. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. Anolina Liguma, thanks, bro. I appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. Anolin, I love your understanding of football. It's interesting. I hope you, Anolin Aliguma. The Aliguma I know is a lady. I hope you're a lady. I don't know. By the way, I see you. I hope you're a lady. By the way, I might assume that you're a lady all along, yet you are again. But the Aliguma that I know is a lady. I don't know whether you're a lady yourself as well. Anolin is a strange name, honestly. So I wouldn't know that it's a man or woman's name. But Aliguma, at least the Aliguma I know is a lady. But I love your knowledge and the questions you ask many times. Let me just share that link to that. Before I forget, it's important because right now we're in a situation where we need to understand. We need to understand what's going on at Manchester United. Otherwise, people will see things happen without proper understanding of what's happening. Here is the link. I've actually got it. So let me just share this video. No, I'm not. You mean Rita Aliguma? Yes, Rita Aliguma. Yes. So you're a man. So Aliguma is can also be a man's game, a man's name rather. So I've shared the link detailing what marginal gains are. If you want, I'm going to pin it. Marginal gains. So that link there will explain it to you. I also sort of believe in that. I personally okay. I don't know. I think that was also my management style when I was still employed as a manager somewhere in my journalism life, my active journalism life before I retired to focus on Manchester United. So let me pin it. So I've pinned it. So if you play that video and watch it, I try to give a detailed explanation of what marginal gains are and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's philosophy. To understand it more, it will help you, by the way, understand how these guys manage, and it teaches you a lot about how to manage successfully. It's very important. Have the right structure in place, but how do you come up with a structure? How do you get the right people to put in that structure? And how do you decentralize? And does everyone understand their role? I just explained to you the roles of all these people and the director of football, and why. Like I was saying, the reason we are going for Dan Ashworth is not because of the players of Caicedo and Cucurella and whatever, what's his name, the Newcastle striker. He's my son's favorite player. Him and Cristiano Ronaldo. Alexander Isak. It's not when he got injured. Isak, that's the game he got injured, because he's injured now. I don't think he's back yet. My son cried for me. He was crying, Dad, Isak is sick. Isak got injured. I showed him the video. You know what? He cried. He's so emotional. Why is this boy so emotional, by the way? Is it a good thing? Yeah, his tears started rolling. What? His big eyes became teary. But yeah, that's football for you. I love it. I love it. Minutes to wind this up. Thank you so much for, of course, being a part of it. Thank you, Prince Odion. I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to reach out to you, brother, because yes, I'm serious about coming to the Olympics. God willing. I mean, if everything allows and goes right, I want to be there and enjoy the Olympics in Paris. I hope I can. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's it. What else did I want to talk about? This What else did I want to talk about? My memory is beginning to shut out. Well, do you think we shall have a squad overhaul this time, despite the changes set to come? No, 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 no. I don't think we are. I think we are in a very good position. I think, honestly, I don't know whether we should credit Eric Ten Hag or it wasn't his main because he did not bring these players in the academy. I think we should credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick. I think Solskjaer and Carrick put us in a good position because these are the guys who mostly worked with these young players today. United now has got so many good young. By the way, there is more talent in our academy. There is very good talent in our academy, guys. Very good young footballers. Where Kobe Maino came from, you don't think he's the last. There is more. Where Garnacho came from, there is more. We have very good players in our academy. So I think we don't need to overhaul this squad. What we need, the problem is may not even be the squad. The problem was the structure around the squad. The structure around the squad that even if we brought Messi in that route, he would fail. Only Cristiano Ronaldo would try to shine like he did in the mess at Man United. But even him, the mess knocked him out because he was having issues with Eric Ten Hag because Ten Hag, the manager at United, was made like a god. But who are you, Eric Ten Hag, to be a god on Cristiano Ronaldo? He's definitely not going to respect you. So the problem at Manchester United is and has been the structure. If the structure is put right, this squad, they might put out the old players, these few old players, they leave, bring in a few. So that's not overhauling. We need about three. For me, I honestly think we need about at most three or four players, about 4, 5, at most 5, but even 5 is on the high side. I think we need about 5 players and to add on this squad is backup striker for Hoyland. We need to let go of Marcus Rashford, bring back Mason Greenwood. If we are not going to bring back Mason Greenwood, buy a winger who is close to him. Now that's why when they talk about Michael Olise and now I've had Pedro, that makes sense because that's the department we need if we are not going to bring back Greenwood. If Greenwood is going to return, we don't need any of those. Then Casemiro has got to be replaced. Then bring one big centre back who is going to be a regular and a long term, younger than these Maguires, because I think it's becoming clear now that of the older centre backs we have, the one we need to keep is Maguire. Varane can go. So let go of Varane, bring someone who is going to play with Sandro Martinez. Now Luke Shaw, now the other position might be the left back because Luke Shaw might not be actually fully fit really. And Tyrell Malacia, good as he is, even if he were there, he would not be alone. Luke Shaw, I think, honestly, these injuries are too much on him, honestly. I don't think he will really be consistent again. Let's admit it, but we'll need a left back at some point. We'll need a left back. I loved the Galatasaray left back, but because we'll concentrate more on the left back. So if we have those, if that's slight improvement on the squad, we don't need to overhaul it. Then have your Kobe Mainos, have your Garnachos, have your Amad Diallos, bring back Pelistri. There are some young kids there. Actually, even in the left back, we may not sign a new one. We've got this Fernandez boy in the academy. Promote him and let him be there and grow with these people. We've got so many young players. Let us trust them. If we create the right template for them, they will play football and they will be world beaters. The biggest problem we've had has been the structure and all the lack of it around the manager. It has always been around the manager being the director of football, being the CEO, being the media officer, being the coach, the first team coach, the deputy assistant. The manager was almost becoming the Askari. Imagine Eric Ten Hag, he was answering questions about the takeover, questions about player injuries, questions about the team and tactics, questions about everything. It was a whole. They don't know how football works. But if we constituted a team, any manager, even in the past, even Moyes would shine at United. Even who was our worst post Alex Ferguson? I don't know to you who our worst manager was post Fergie. I don't know who. By the way, who do you think was our worst manager post Fergie? Let me put it to you. Drop in the comment section. Drop it in the comments. Who, in your view, was our worst manager post? It's an interesting question to end with. Who was our worst manager post Sir Alex Ferguson? That is a debatable question. Some will say Moyes, I think. Most people, I think, will say Moyes. A few would say, I think, Van Gaal. They all didn't like Van Gaal. For me, I liked Van Gaal by the way as a manager. I like him. I just like him anyway. Generally, maybe that would bias my opinion about him. I may not see. I feel bad even saying he is one of our worst. I don't think he was really. Actually, if anything, he could be one of my best three after Fergie. But who was our worst manager? Even our worst manager, if you create this structure that has Dean Ashworth, Jean-Claude Blow, Omar Berada, Sadev Brosford, then bring in Paul Mitchell, bruh, you would be a dense manager not to perform. So the changes will come, but on the right at the right in the right places, not overhauling the squad. We don't need to overhaul the squad, guys. Let's leave it at that. We'll catch up again tomorrow morning at 11. I know morning hours are difficult for some of you, but of course we are here still at 11 a.m. To talk Manchester United. For today, in terms of the squad news, there is not so much new stuff to talk about. At least what we want to know is Luke Shaw available or not? Chances are he won't be available, but tomorrow the manager will talk about him. We'll give you all that detail and talk about Luke Shaw and the team. Today, for me, it was mostly for us to understand why we do need to be happy and excited about Dan Ashworth. Thank you, guys, and thank you for subscribing. My name is Webb. I'll catch you again tomorrow. God bless you.